generation is lazy.
Is Gen Z really a bunch of lazy, entitled slackers?
This generation doesn't know how to work.
Or is there more to the story when it comes to this generation and their approach to work?
Oh, that's it.
Quiet quitting, mental health days, and the dreaded
It's my mental health day.
toxic work environment.
Let's not make this a toxic work environment.
If you spent any time online in the past year, you've likely encountered these terms dominating the conversation around the modern workplace. But what's really going on here? Is Gen Z truly a generation of workers unwilling to put in the effort?
There's so many customers and we have 4 people on the floor all day.
Or are they simply responding to a system that's become increasingly unstable? One of South Park's episodes tackles these very issues head on.
Dick and Balls hot dogs.
Dick and Boz shines a satirical spotlight on the growing tension between employers and their younger workforce. And believe it or not, that has a lot to teach us about the realities facing today's job market.
I believe that we here at Dick and Balls would like to hire you immediately.
You know, South Park has a knack for cutting through the noise and getting right to the heart of the societal problems. The show's creator, Matt and Trey, don't exactly have a reputation for subtlety. In fact, their approach is about as subtle as a kick to the crotch. When it comes to exposing the absurdities of modern life, you've got to admire their commitment to exaggeration.
You want to go get a job and have a little dose of reality? Maybe it'll be good for you.
And when it comes to the so-called work ethic crisis, these two don't hold back.
Look at this shithole we live in. Somebody has to get a job because you just sit on your ass all day.
They swing for the fences, pulling no punches in their takedown of the generational divide plaguing employers and their younger workers.
Why does he get to have a job? I want a job.
For starters, let's look at one of the most common complaints lobbed at Gen Z.
I wasn't feeling the best, so I decided to work from home.
That they're simply unwilling to put in the hard work required to succeed.
How can he work from home? This is an ice cream shop.
This episode introduces us to Butters, a 10-year-old who manages to land a job at an ice cream shop due to the ongoing labor shortage.
I got a job over the ice cream shop.
Nonetheless, his new co-worker, Eric Cartman, immediately bristles at the idea of having to actually, do any work.
That is messed up. Why does he get to have a job? I want a job.
I want a job too, Cartman whines, but I don't want to have to work or anything.
You wouldn't last 4 hours on a job, fat ass.
This sentiment perfectly encapsulates the stereotype of the lazy, entitled Gen Z worker.
Eric, can you scoop out some coconut almond fudge? Why?
Someone who wants all the rewards of employment without putting in the effort.
'Cause it's your job, Eric. Whoa, Butters. Let's not make this a toxic work environment, okay?
And Cartman doesn't stop there. When Butters tries to train him on the basic duties of the job, Cartman balks at the idea of doing anything productive, instead focusing on when he can take breaks.
All right, Eric, so there's 3 types of ice cream. Waffle cone, sugar cone, and cups. Uh-huh, and when do we get to have breaks?
It's a textbook example of the quiet quitting mindset that's taken the internet by storm. The notion that younger workers are deliberately doing the bare minimum to get by, rather than going above and beyond for their employers. The million-dollar question that then begs is this really representative of the entire Gen Z cohort? A closer look at the data suggests a more nuanced picture. According to a recent Gallup survey, work engagement levels have actually declined across all age groups since the pandemic, with the steepest drop occurring among employers under 35. So the problem may not be unique to Gen Z, but it could simply be a symptom of a broader workplace dissatisfaction. Actually, a 2022 study by the American Psychological Association found that over the past few decades, there's been a significant increase in the demand for mental health services, driven by factors like economic stressors, the global pandemic, and population growth. It's no wonder then that younger workers are increasingly vocal about the need for better work-life balance and mental health accommodations.
So haven't you heard of Bare Minimum Mondays? It's a thing that young people have created because we care about our mental health.
Enter the concept of mental health days, something Cartman tries to abuse for his own lazy purposes, but which many experts argue is a valid and necessary response to the burnout plaguing today's workforce. According to a recent survey, a staggering 88% of 19 to 34-year-olds reported experiencing a toxic work environment. That's a 20% higher rate than workers aged 45 and up. So while Cartman's antics may be played for laughs, they also shine a light on real issues facing employers. Younger employees aren't necessarily lazy, they're simply less tolerant of the kind of abusive, soul-crushing work culture that previous generations may have accepted as the norm. And with good reason. Studies show that poor mental health not only impacts productivity, but can also lead to higher turnover and increased healthcare costs for businesses. Of course, not everyone is on board with this shift. The South Park episode features a classic boomer versus millennial Gen Z clash. with Cartman's mom dismissing his desire for a mental health day as pure laziness.
Eric, the truth is, I don't think you'd last 4 hours at a job.
You want a job so you can sit around and do nothing all day? She scolds. This generational divide is very much a real phenomenon, with older workers often struggling to understand the priorities and mindsets of their younger counterparts. Perhaps nowhere is this clash more evident than in the growing trend of remote and hybrid work.
I wasn't feeling the best, so I decided to work from home.
Cartman decides to skip out on his ice cream shop duties in favor of working from home. It's played for laughs, but the reality is that the pandemic has fundamentally shifted employee expectations around flexibility and work-life balance, and many younger workers are simply no longer willing to accept the rigid, in-office policies of the past. Studies have shown that remote employees can actually be more productive than their office-bound counterparts. And with companies still shelling out millions in rent and maintenance for largely empty office buildings, the pressure to get workers back on site is as much about recouping those costs as it is about perceived productivity losses. In other words, the desire for remote work isn't necessarily about laziness. It's about a fundamental rethinking of the employer-employee contract. Younger workers have seen firsthand how they can be just as, if not more, effective outside the traditional office setting, and they're unwilling to simply acquiesce to mandates that seem to prioritize the company's financial interest over their own well-being. Of course, this isn't to say that all Gen Z workers are saints and all older managers are villains. The truth is, there is likely truth on both sides of this debate. As the South Park episode highlights, many younger employees do seem to have an aversion to hard work and responsibility that goes beyond mere pushback against toxic conditions. There are certainly employees out there who are genuinely trying to foster healthier, more accommodating work environments. So what's really driving this apparent generational clash over the nature of work? Some experts point to broader cultural and economic shifts that have shaped the worldview of each age group. Millennials and Gen Z, for instance, have grown up in an era of unprecedented economic uncertainty, with many facing the harsh realities of student debt, skyrocketing housing costs, and the lingering impact of the Great Recession. It's no wonder then that they might be more skeptical of the traditional corporate ladder climbing model that their parents' generations bought into. With the rise of the hustle culture and the proliferation of entrepreneurial role models on social media, many young people are actively seeking alternative paths to financial stability and fulfillment. At the end of the day, the debate over Gen Z's work ethic is unlikely to be settled anytime soon. But the South Park episode Dick and Balls serves as a compelling microcosm of the larger societal shifts at play. It's a reminder that as the workplace continues to evolve, employers and employees will need to find new ways to bridge the generational divide and work together to create environments that foster both productivity and well-being. Because the truth is, the younger generation isn't necessarily lazy or entitled. They're simply products of a world that's changed dramatically from the one their parents and grandparents grew up in. As we navigate this complex landscape, it'll take empathy, flexibility, and a willingness to listen and adapt on both sides to ensure that the workforce of the future is prepared to meet the challenges of the years to come. After all, the current labor shortage and the rise of quiet quitting aren't just Gen Z problems. They're indicative of a broader reckoning happening across the workforce. Employers who refuse to recognize and adapt to these shifts may find themselves struggling to attract and retain talent they need to stay competitive.
What the hell is going on? Why is nobody showing up?
Therefore, while the South Park episode may play up the generational divides for comedic effect, it also holds a mirror up to the very real tensions and transformations shaping the modern workforce. By understanding the nuances of this debate, we can work towards finding common ground and building a more sustainable, fulfilling future of work for employees and employers alike. You know, the Gen Z work ethic debate is just the start when it comes to South Park's commentary on modern America. In our next video, South Park reveals America's economic collapse. We'll dive into an episode that pulls back the curtain on the facade of prosperity, exposing the delusions and self-serving agendas that permeate every level of society. From the way companies pretend to care about diversity to Hollywood's fake commitment to social justice, South Park exposes it all. No one is safe from their scathing satire. So be sure to check it out, and we'll see you in that next video.